there are lots and lots of questions, as ever, swirling around Boris Johnson. How do you react to what Chris Bryant has to say? I mean, both the words that Chris Bryant used, but also the overwhelming sense of distrust and almost, I suppose, contempt for Mr. Johnson.
Before I answer that, which I'll obviously answer Trevor, because I'm quite blunt spoken, can I just go back to what Jonathan Ashworth said for 1 second? He was dissing the job centres, but we are doing amazing stuff. I was briefly the skills minister. We have the boot camps, which you can get the technical skills, the HGV skills. We've got Kickstart to help people to it. So it's not just about the CV building. I just wanted to put that on the record. Now, regarding look, we know that Chris is as outspoken as I am, but on the other side of the fence, and he's never liked Boris. And if anything, there's a real hatred from the left of Boris Johnson, which I haven't seen since Thatcher's funeral, to be honest. And I do think it's unfair. I think lines are being blurred where the civil service is concerned. I mean, for some previous civil servants to come out and publicly say that I, was responsible for bringing Boris Johnson down. When you see that, part of the inquiry, we hear that the head of ethics brought their own karaoke machine to the civil service party. Yeah, Boris got the blame for stuff, all these parties. So I would like to see greater transparency, not only if the civil service have got this orchestrated campaign and they are trying to stop our immigration policy, etc. I think we need to see more transparency with the civil service, and they declare their interests and their relations with not only the media, but with shadow cabinet as well.
I'm going to come back to ask you about what you said about the civil service, which you mentioned several times. But just before we get there, is Boris Johnson not responsible for any of this? I mean, is he a sort of totally innocent party?
I think, if anything, Boris has probably been too trusting. Boris.
He's been a little Lord Fauntleroy along all of this, and just wandered through and been, the victim of awful, devious other people.
No, at the end of the day, I mean, I've seen the hatred out there and the vitriol. That's why outside Downing Street I got frustrated. The left got what they want. And I think that they need to leave Boris alone now. Carrie's heavily pregnant. Just leave him alone. And what I really do question, Trevor, is the timing of this.
No. Sorry, you're being a bit of a politician here. You're sliding away from my basic question here. Whatever you say about what's being said about Boris Johnson, are you just saying that nothing he has done is worthy of question or inquiry, and he made no mistakes?
Look, every prime minister, and I'm not evading the question here, Trevor, but every prime minister, should be questioned. I mean, this is why I'm questioning our current prime minister over certain policies, like dropping the animal welfare bill, and I will be a critic. I was with Theresa May in our own party, but with Boris, I do feel that clearly that he nobody's perfect without a doubt, but there has seriously been
an relief to hear you say that.
No, but honestly, there's been an orchestrated campaign, and not only in my own party as well, because let's face it, most of my fellow MPs are the One Nation to the left of the party. They've got the leader that they wanted in Rishi. They never accepted Boris and never accepted Liz Truss, and they're out of sync with the party membership, who are big Boris fans.
All right, I just want to ask you about the important point you made here, really, which is about the role of the civil service. Do you think it's right that the Cabinet Office handed over Boris's diaries to the Privileges Committee, and as a result, they ended up in the hands of the police?
I'm going with my personal view on this. My personal view is, no. And why did it? They should have at least let Boris Johnson know that they had concerns. But I go back to the timing of this. Why all of a sudden, when the COVID inquiry is wrapping up, and we saw with a committee that they didn't really, it wasn't strong evidence, I didn't feel. I thought Boris came out very well in the committee. So I just question the timing of this as well, to be honest.
All right. Well, as you say, you've been pretty blunt. I mean, you've been pretty blunt on WhatsApp, and I think we've seen some of your messages this week. You talked about hypocrisy and sanctimony.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us, name some names, who you're talking about?
Well, I mean, the person at the top, Simon Hoare, during Theresa May's time, he was quite vitriolic on social media. I had to block him in the end. So the say about blue on blue and, let's keep this in house, etc. But those who throw the first stone, they need to make sure that they're not devoid of doing the same thing.
OK, so we've got Simon Hoare. Who else is in the enemy crew?
I mean, not enemies. I mean, I have to set the record straight with this. We'd all much rather see a Conservative government than a socialist government with all their wokerati agenda. So, I also blocked the chief whip during that time, who's now the chief whip. So, these, to me, you cannot... Sorry, go on, Trevor.
With the greatest of respect, I mean, I'm a novice in politics, but I have to say, if you want to see a Conservative government, these WhatsApp messages, bring back Boris and all of that, Rishi, always a bit weak, all of the things that you've been saying, they don't seem like the best message to send to the electorate if what you want to do is to get the Conservatives re-elected.
Look, Boris and Liz was the prime ministers and the party leaders who I supported. I didn't support Rishi, and that's life. Under Theresa May's time, when Boris got elected, we saw members of the party who wasn't happy with that. But ultimately, we do want to see a Conservative elected. And if anything, Trevor, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to be outspoken, which I can't be anything else. I'm a Yorkshire woman, and I've been brought up to be honest and blunt. If anything, I'm trying to, actually challenge some of the policies that's coming out at the moment because I know what policies are working in my area and actually to deliver on our manifesto commitments.
OK, just very quickly on a yes or no. So being blunt, Rishi Sunak, you want him to be leader when you go into the next election. You're happy. You're going to stick with it now.
Well, as I've said publicly, to me, it depends on the polling, Trevor. I mean, this is me personally.
Oh, right.
Come on, it'd be political suicide to look. Come on, I'm a pragmatist as well. It'd be political suicide to change leader again now, because we'd have to go into a general election, and we'll end up with 100 seats. Why would you do that? I want to see a Conservative government elected.
It sounds like Rishi's on probation. Have any of the no confidence letters gone in yet?
I haven't a clue. You'll have to ask.
You haven't submitted one, have you? I mean, I know you've.
I'm very public. Look, when I submitted one over Theresa May, I was public about that. So if I'd submitted one, I would put it out there.
All right. Look, the last point. I just want to ask you, on behalf of my dear friend and colleague Sam Coates, when he broke the story on Thursday, you had a go at him. I mean, honestly.
But come on, Trevor.
I mean, Sam is not a woke fest. I mean, honestly, you're impugning the integrity of one of the best reporters around, and with it, the entire Sky crew. I feel personally affronted.
No, come on, Trevor. I like Sam, and you're pretty decent as well. But come on, we know that the media they're waiting to stories to hear that the party's falling apart. But we're not. If you look at, I'm sure the Labour MPs WhatsApp, you get people who's happy and not happy, and it's been very leaky for the 8 years that I've been an MP. So that's politics.
Okay. And by the way, that BBBJ hashtag, I didn't quite get what it meant.
Oh, bring back Boris Johnson, of course, yeah. I mean, not that he wants to come back. I don't believe he does. But
Andrea Jenkyns, we really ought to do this. We really ought to do this again. Thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you. All the best. Have a good day. Bye-bye.